Let me know how you feeling. The legendary Mr. Mike Hill.
How you doing? How you doing, Dr. Chanda?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to see you. Good morning to you. It's still morning out here. I don't know where you are, but it's still morning out here. Yeah.
I'm on the East Coast. It's the afternoon. It's around 2:00.
Yeah, you up so lively. You up so joyful. Like, yeah, it's Friday. I'm ready to get out in the club, do my thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, just so, let me still wipe the cold out of my eye. Let me make sure I got everything up. Yeah.
You always come with the energy, though. I was trying to match your energy.
Come on, match that energy. It's good energy. When you're happy, you're gonna have good energy, right?
Period.
You ain't got to care in the world when you're happy. You got to keep that happiness inside you. I got to keep my joy. Ain't nobody gonna take my joy from me. Exactly. So I'm gonna be happy on Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday. I don't care if it's Monday. I don't care if it's in the middle of the day. I'm gonna keep my happiness.
As you should. As you should. And it's our job to protect it, right?
Absolutely. You got to protect your own happiness. Nobody can give it to you, and nobody can take it away from you unless you allow them to take it away. So nobody's gonna steal my joy. But I'm happy to be here with you this morning. I'm
so excited that you agreed to come. I really appreciate it. Listen, I'm used to you interviewing me, so don't judge me on my journalism skills because
girl, just be yourself. It's all good. It's all good. I just love having a good conversation. Let's just talk. Whatever you want to talk about, let's go there.
I love it. All right. So I want to jump right into the conversation because you have an amazing book out right now. Open Mic. Yeah. And so as I was kind of like skimming through it, there are a lot of chapters that I feel like a lot of different people can relate to. And I just want to have a conversation about that without going too much into detail because the people need to buy it. But first things first, I know, in the beginning chapter, you were talking about how there were some things that you experienced in life. And your very first memory was based on trauma. Yeah. So how did you come to the realization that your current functioning, how you were, was a product of past trauma in early life?
Well, luckily for me, or fortunately for me, my first introduction to trauma, my first memory wasn't something that I carried on in my own adult life. And you know what that was. I was like first thing I seeing domestic violence and remembering domestic violence and hearing those screams still haunt me to this day because as a child, when you can't do anything about your mom being beaten, I mean, that is just a terrible feeling to have. But I think it kind of certain things in my life, and I don't know if you agree with this, Dr. Chanda, certain things in my life affected me trauma-wise, seeing it, and it made me kind of become that. But then there are other things that I felt or experienced trauma-wise that I kind of grew up saying, I will never be that. Yeah. And it kind of helped me out. So I've always been the type of person that I can't ever allow a man or ever condone a man putting his hands on a woman because I saw that in my household. And I saw how that affected my mother, and I saw how that affected my family, and I know how it affected me as a child. So I would never do that, and I would never allow another man to do something like that. So, but that type of experience, feeling that, not seeing that love in the household, I know that had a negative effect on me when it came to my mental spirit and my mental breakdown, because I never saw my mother and my father, whether it was my biological father or my stepfather, I never saw them embrace and love. And say, you know what, I love you, and feel it. It could be a passing by moment where they would say, hey, walking out the door, love you too, whatever. But I never really saw anybody ever walk up to my mom and just give her a hug and say, you know what, you're my queen, I love you forever. I never saw that in my household growing up, and I know that had a huge effect on me and my relationships growing up as well.
Wow. I wonder how that impacted you. So your question, you said you don't know if I agree. I completely 100% agree with that. That's what we call sublimation, basically. So kind of seeing somebody do something, and I'm like, you know what, I don't like that outcome. I'm going to do the complete opposite. I wonder, if that impacted you as a parent to your daughters.
It did. I mean, one of the things that another thing is being parents of my daughter. People look at me and say, Mike, you're such a great father. You love your girls. I got 2 biological. I got 1 through marriage. So I got 3 girls all together. And you're such a great dad. I had to learn how to be a great dad. I'm still learning how to be a great dad. I'm not there yet. I'm a good dad. I'm still figuring things out. There are things, just the other day, I was wondering if I handled the situation the right way, because my daughter came to me with a question. And I was like, man, did I handle that the right way? Because I didn't like the way she reacted. But there's always a line, you know, it's like you got to give them something, you got to give them a lot, but then there's also, you can't give too much of yourself where it's almost like taken away from you and it's hurting you or killing you.
Yeah.
But it did affect me as far as like growing up with them and not knowing what love was, because even in that situation, my father's in my life, my biological and my stepfather in my life, even though I knew they loved me, I didn't feel that type of love. I felt protected from my stepfather because he was crazy as hell. You know, he was out the street. Nobody was gonna mess with Richard Hill's son. I knew that. But as far as like, hey man, come give me a hug. I love you. You're a king. You're gonna be great things in life or whatever. I never really felt that encouragement. I looked at my stepfather growing up with him, and I'm not trying to make him out to be the worst man in the world, but he had his issues because he didn't get help that he needed. But he never really instilled those type of values in me, to help me become the man that I should have been in my life, because nobody helped him in his life. So when it came to loving my children, I did love up on them. I always, once again, it goes to what's a sublimation, what you call it. I knew that I wanted, when I have kids, I'm going to make sure, my whole thing growing up was, I'm always going to make sure that my kids have everything that they need and most of what they want. Luckily, they've been able to get both because they're spoiled as hell. But at the same time, I'm also the type of person that I want to encourage them and tell them how much they're special, how much of a queen that they are, and how much they're worth or whatever, and want to instill that value in them. But the effect that it had on me is because I did not know how to do that in the beginning the right way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's really amazing, and how, you know, great of a parent you are. I know you say you're still learning, but that's the process of parenting as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so even thinking about your relationships, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
On you and Miss Cynthia Chill.
Yeah.
But you know, I really do love her. She's a sweet person. I don't know her. I'm just an avid Real Housewives fan. But you know, you talked about in your book how your past situations impacted your relationships, and I think that was so profound for you to identify, because it's hard, especially for Black men, to say like, you know, I can't show up in relationships the way I want to because of X, Y, and Z. So what helped you to kind of like get to that point?
Just realizing it. I mean, writing a book. Seriously, if it wasn't for the book, Open Mic, I would not be in this situation I'm in today right now with Cynthia. I wouldn't be in the position I'm in right now if it wasn't for Open Mic, if it wasn't for writing that book. And not even putting the book out, but I needed to write the book. The book. See, that's what people understand. It's like, forget putting the book out. Like, I didn't even want to put the book out because it was too embarrassing. It was too revealing. I needed to write that book. And when I wrote the book and I showed it to somebody said, you know what, Dr. Ian Smith, as a matter of fact, I know a lot of people know who he is. He read, he's like, Mike, you got to put this out because this could help people. But if it wasn't for writing that book, that was my first ever form of therapy that I had for myself. I had gone to marriage counseling before, but that was really just a blame game, to be honest with you. I had never had a form of mental therapy in my life by myself where I sat down and I spoke to somebody on a continuous basis, or I was allowed to reveal or get the trauma that was buried inside of me for so many years out of me. So when I wrote that book, I was able to get it all out, look at my life, and I'm like, man, Mike, you kind of messed up. And I didn't use the word messed up. I was up, you know what I mean? And it was hurtful. And it started making me cry, made me weep. But then when I was writing it, I started feeling this sense of relief. I started feeling like, man, this burden is off my chest, all this trauma, I'm ripping it out. I'm revealing, I'm like, all this stuff that I suppressed for so many years that I had hidden, that I didn't even realize was hurting me. I looked at it and I was like, you know what? I'm taking this out. And I'm like, okay, I got to fix this. This is the reason why I'm acting like this. This is the reason why I can't have a relationship with my oldest daughter. This is the reason why I continue to cheat. These are the things that because there are so many different things that was happening in my life, so much trauma, so much pain, so much sadness, so much depression that was happening in me that I didn't know was there, that I had to get out, and writing a book allowed me to help me get it out. And once I got it out, I realized, you know what, I got to continue the therapy because now I got to heal. Because I always look at the writing of the book as somebody saying, okay, and I know it's not cancer, but somebody saying, you got cancer, we got to have surgery. We got to get this cancer out of you. But then afterwards, you still got to go through treatments. And now I'm still in my treatment phase of my rehabilitation.
That's amazing because, you know, like I was saying, like sometimes it is hard for men, especially to to identify the wound,
Mm-hmm.
and to actually seek help for the wound. But one thing that I talk to my male therapist friends a lot. They say, if they're not willing to go to therapy, writing is probably like that second best option, because it brings about such a cathartic experience, being able to just write about your past, writing about the future, writing about your emotional experiences. And for you, Mike, because I know there are probably people watching right now who want to embark on that journey to identify some of those things. So like, talk about some of the emotions you started to experience when you began to write, and what did that feel like for you?
It's still emotional, to be honest with you. I mean, when I think back on certain things in my life, it really, when I think back on my mom being beaten, that hurts, because I'm like, man, I was so helpless. I couldn't do anything about that. When I think back on the pain that I inflicted on so many people, myself, women, I thought I was just inflicting pain on me. I just didn't know any better. And that's why, like, you'll see me on Instagram every now and then, I just get a feeling. I'm like, I got to say I'm sorry, because it's still in my heart. It's still in my emotion. I'm not a perfect man. I want to be a good man. I haven't been. I just walked into my manhood. I wasn't a man for the first 48, 49 years of my life, and I'm just 50. I thought I was being man, because you got a penis between your legs doesn't make you a man. It makes you a male. And I know my friend wrote a book about that. But I had to walk into my manhood because I had to become whole, and I had to realize the things that was holding me back from being a man. I was still being a boy acting like a man. So when I write about those things and I look back over some of the stories, if somebody reveals it or whatever, it's still painful to me. But I've gotten rid of it, and I know how to fix the problem. But just thinking back on it, sometimes it brings out some emotions, of the first time that, you're going out and you meet a woman or girl that you like, and then you figuring out that there was, I don't know if you read the book, but if you read the book, you'll realize that the first time I ever told somebody I loved them, something traumatic happened to me. And it had an effect on me for a long time. And people always want to say, well, how is that going to affect you? Here you are in your 40s now. This is back in the day when I was writing the book. How is this still affecting you 30 years later? Something that happened to you when you was 15, 16 years old. It does. But you don't realize it has an effect on you, because what we've done as Black men, especially, we've taken pain that we've endured over the years, especially mental pain, and been able to just like, you know what, push it down. Don't show it. Boy, you better not cry. You a sissy. You all these different words. If you say, oh, you emotional, you acting like a female, if you do all that type of stuff. So we always suppress it because we don't want to show anybody that we have a so-called weakness. And it's not a weakness. But that's what you're taught in your life, is that if you show that type of emotion, if you show that type of trauma, then you're showing weakness. Where really, I realized I'm showing courage because I'm coming out and speaking out about it, because I need to get the help. I need to become stronger, And so, looking back on it, to answer your question, to look back on it and to read some of the stories every now and then, I'll pick it up and I'll just like arbitrarily just go and say, okay, let's read page 78 right now. And I'll read it, and it takes me back to that moment in time and that memory, and it still hurts to this day. So, I encourage people, like you said, if they don't want to go and get the mental therapy and go seek somebody and talk to somebody because they don't trust them, write out your thoughts. Just get all that stuff that's inside of you out of you, because once again, it's eating you alive.
Yeah. You brought up so many great points in what you just said, but for all the viewers out there, I need y'all to drop some fire emojis in the comments, because Mike Hill is dropping fire right now. Mike, I want you to kind of like expound on what you were saying, because as a therapist, I can talk all day till I'm blue in the face about how, having emotions and being a Black male doesn't make you weak, but coming from a female, it might not hit home as hard. But as a Black man, I love having these conversations, especially with Black men, because other Black men can resonate with what you're saying. How did you kind of like break out of that stereotype that having emotions makes you weak? Because you're right, it doesn't.
No, I mean, the book, once again, because, I grew up the same way a lot of Black men grew up, come on, don't cry. One of the things in my book, if you read about it, my stepfather, it was something that happened to me when I was a kid and I was hurting and whatever, or certain emotions or certain thoughts that I may have, that I wanted my father to hug me, when I wanted my father to reach out and say, it's going to be okay. His reaction was something totally different than what I needed at that time. And it had an effect on me. So I learned to suppress certain thoughts or certain feelings or certain emotions that I might have around this man, because well, if I do it this way, then it's not going to get the reaction I need. So I'm just going to act like it doesn't happen at all. And that's what we grow up. That's how we grow up, not just with your father, but with your cousins, with your homeboys or whatever, because they're taught the same way. So we as black men got to get past this whole notion that if you show emotions, if you cry or whatever. Now, like, look, there's a fine line. Don't get me wrong now. You don't want to just like whine all the time, like, oh, I don't want to wake up this morning. I don't want to see, oh my gosh, she didn't call me. I just called her an hour ago and she called me back. Like, okay, after a while, that gets a little old. But I'm saying it's like, yeah, but if you go through so many different difficulties in life, especially as black men in this country, especially as men in this country, you realize what we deal with on a continuous basis. There is not one day in your life that you have been black in this country that you have not had to deal with some kind of systemic racism. That's trauma. That is trauma. And people need to realize that. I'm not trying to say be a victim. You got to be a survivor, though. You got to definitely show your strength and say, you know what, this has affected me. You know, what am I going to do about it? And to start that, to say what I'm going to do about it, you got to get the help that you need inside of you to help others, because you want to change the world. I want to change the world, but I realize I can't change the world and I can't make it better for other people until I make it better for myself. I got to be whole. That's why even when it came to my relationship, I can't love somebody else. I can't fall in love with somebody else. And that's why people got upset with me. Like when I said before, like I was never in love before, when I was before I was with Cynthia. You know, even though I've been married before, I love the women I was with. I love the mother of my children. Of course, I love my children, but I could not fall in love because I could not fall in love with myself, because I wasn't whole. I didn't know how to do that. I couldn't trust anybody. So that's what I'm talking about. So as a black man, when you go through all these emotional issues that you go through when it comes to race, dealing with racism in this country, dealing with jobs, dealing with just being held down by certain things, working hard or whatever, and still not getting what you're worth, that's trauma that's building up inside you. And you don't realize that, but people have told you for years, that's just life. Just deal with it. Man up. All those things. When you hear all those things, man up. If you continue to man up and you got that trauma inside you, it's going to be man down. And when I say man down, it's going to be 6 feet down. Because had I not written this book, and I say this all the time, Chanda, Dr. Chanda, had I not written this book, I wouldn't be here today. And I'm not talking about in this position. I wouldn't be here because I'd be dead, because I was hurting on the inside. I would find myself at night crying, wondering why I'm crying. What am I like? And what's going on? Do I need testosterone in my body? Once again, do I got too much estrogen? What am I drinking? Too much milk? What's going on? And why am I crying so much? And I realized the reason why I was crying is because I had this pain inside, because things were jogging memories. And God said, you got to write this book that you've been holding off on for so long. And once I started writing, once again, all that stuff started coming out of me. And when I realized it was coming out of me, I realized I got to get help. And I got to realize that I'm not listening to this guy over here that tells me you're being a female, you're being emotional anymore. And once that happened, and once I got that help, and once I got that therapy, and I'm continuing to go through that. So when people say that now, I'm like, okay, you're the one that's missing out. You're the one that's weak with that mentality. I'm strong. I'm masculine. I ain't nothing but a man over here. You know what I mean? And I'm continuing to grow into my manhood. So you can say what you want to, but I'm secure enough in myself because I got that therapy that I don't have to listen to anybody that's trying to bring me down. And once again, what did we start with in the beginning of this? I'm happy. So you can't steal my joy. So what I built up, you will never be able to tear down. Never, in any kind of way.
Mike is over here preaching, y'all. Like, I don't know if y'all getting all this information. It's definitely going to be saved on the page. But listen, y'all definitely need to watch the replay because he's dropping so many gems right now. So many gems. I don't know if anybody ever told you was a preacher, but you definitely preaching right now.
God is good.
Yes, 100%. And you have such an amazing testimony. I can tell by the way you're speaking about it with just such conviction. Like, this is real life for you. Like, this ain't just a book that you put out. Like, this is your life. This is
like I said, I didn't want to put the book out. I didn't want to. First of all, I didn't want to write the book. I didn't. I would tell people every now and then, a couple of friends, ex-girlfriend of mine, and I was like telling my story or whatever, like, Mike, you got to write a book. You got to write. I'm like, nobody wants to hear from me. I'm like, I'm not a celebrity. I don't, blah, blah. No, Mike, you just need to write this book. And I didn't realize they were telling me I need to write the book for me, not to put it out. Right. And once I would start writing the book, I started writing the book back in 2014 or something like that. Cause I remember the first manuscript was like who is this? Mike Hill. I'm a 40. At the time, I was 44 years old. And I'm like, okay, the next time I picked it up, I was 47. And I had 3 years just put it off because I just didn't feel it. It wasn't until I needed to write the book, like I said, crying all the time, wondering what was going on. And God said, you need to write this book. And I wrote it. So when I started writing the book, it became cathartic. And I was able to put it out and then showing it to Dr. Ian Smith. Ian's like, man, this got to be seen by other people. And I'm still thinking, ain't nobody going to read this book. Nobody cares about me. Who am I? Whatever. And then I realized that the stuff that I had in the book, the things I revealed about myself as a public figure, as somebody that's on television, and now somebody that's married to a celebrity, I'm like, this is embarrassing. These stories are like, I don't want people to really know your business, but that's another part of therapy, is that we are taught in our world, don't put your business out there. Don't tell people about why you want to tell that stranger your business with? No, I need to. Yeah. I'm not saying that you got to go as far as I did, because I wrote some stories in this thing that's like, wow, like, why'd you even put that in there? Like, oh, pause, all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? But I needed to, everything that's in there, I felt like I needed to write and put in there, share that part of my life. And even if it's embarrassing, you'll see the lesson that I learned from it, and how I was able to grow from it, and how that particular moment either held me back from something, or discouraged me from doing something, or made me feel a certain way about future things that I was getting into. And had I addressed it earlier, it would not have had that kind of effect on me. So yeah, you got to share it, and I got to share it. And I'm happy that I shared it. And like I said, it ain't got to be a New York Times bestseller. If 10 people get something out of this book, then that's God's purpose, and that's all I need to know in my life.
Yeah, I see a few comments. People are asking the name of the book, y'all. So the name of the book is called Open Mic. So y'all need to make sure that you get the book. And it is on Amazon. And is there anywhere else that people can get it, or strictly on Amazon?
It's on it's in Walmart now. It's on Walmart.com. So there it is. It's Open Mic, the book. Now, I always got to explain the cover. I hate to say that. So I always got to explain the cover. So it ain't because I was trying to work out, because I wasn't even a perfect body, but that's even part of it. Like, my body was in shape, getting there, but it wasn't perfect. So that means that I put in some work, but I still got a long way to go. And the reason why I put my bare chest on there is because I wanted the naked truth. So everything, the most vulnerable that a person can be in life is when they're out there in public and they naked and everybody can see everything. So I wanted everybody to see everything. So the reason that it's in black and white is because it seems like I'm coming out of the shadows, coming out of my darkness, stepping into my light, and my head is bowed just slightly because, yeah, I'm still embarrassed by some of the things I've done. I'm humbled by some of the things I've done. And obviously I'm a journalist, so there's the microphone, and the chorus have been like a lot of these traumas and all this sadness that's kind of bound me for so many years, kind of held me down. So that's me stepping out into this. Open mic is self-explanatory, that I'm being open. And then you read the book, and then on the back cover, it's me and my baby. It's lit. My head is up. I'm a little bit more proud of who I am, becoming this man, stepping into that, still got it. But she got my back. You know, it's good that I have somebody who has my back, and she's talking to me in my ear, basically giving me some advice every now and then and guiding me along the way. But she's also got this rope around my neck, letting you know, get out of line. I still got you if I need to. No, I just do that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. No, I think that was that it's very artistic the way you explained it. I see a few people in the comments saying they just ordered it, y'all. So go ahead and drop a 100 emoji in the comments if you're going to order the book, like right now, today, because I feel like this book is going to bless so many of us. So I'm not going to take too much more of your time, but I do want to ask you kind of like a wrap-up question, because I have a lot of Black male friends who are really hesitant to start therapy, and they're afraid of like what that first session was going to be like. So if you could kind of like walk us through, what was your first day in therapy like? What emotions did you have?
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm always transparent, because even after writing the book, I still wasn't whole. I still had some things I need to deal with, because when you write a book like this, you write your memoir, you deal with your past traumas. Yeah. And you deal with a lot of things that help you in life, but then there are other things that you develop over the years that are new, that are issues that you still have, that you still need to work on, but it wasn't addressed in the book because you didn't think it was a problem. So there was things that were still going on in my life that I was like, you know what, Mike, you wrote this book or whatever. If you don't get therapy, you're gonna go right back to the same person that you used to be. And you could be in a great relationship, or you could be in a good position at work, and you can mess all that up. And so I need to go and seek therapy. So I went and sought therapy afterwards. And that first session, I was just able to talk and able to get it out. And so when I tell people when they're looking for a therapist, you might not find the right therapist the first time, but don't be discouraged. Don't give up. Just go and try and find somebody that you can relate to, that's somebody that gets you. And I always say this, and that's why I love seeing you, and I love seeing other Black there. Like, find somebody that you feel like can relate to you. And being Black, we need more Black therapists out there. We really do. It is so imperative, because, and nothing against people, non-colored therapists, whatnot, white people or Latino, Asian, whatever. A lot of people just don't get you. They don't understand your trauma. They can read a book and they have all the knowledge in the world, but they don't get you. So, but I'm saying is, even if you go to a white therapist and you're talking and they don't be discouraged by it, because it's something that you need. It's not on them. It's on you. You know what I mean? It's your health. And I'll say it like this. I know I'm rambling, but if your arm hurts and it's killing you, right? And you know it's hurting you, right? And you go to the doctor, no, you check it out. Nah, we can't figure out. Your arm's still gonna hurt. And you're gonna have to eventually go back, right? You're still gonna continue to seek that. So treat your mind the same way. Treat your soul and your emotions and your trauma the same way, that you know something's hurting you on the inside. Stop being so strong. Go out there, stop trying to think you're being so strong. Realize that if you have a weakness, you need to be able to let that weakness go so that you become stronger, right? So I tell my male friends, and I got plenty of guys that I'm telling right now, because I belong to a male group. And I'm like, yo, man, just go in there, talk to them, feel it out, realize it's about you, speak it out, realize, and then put in the work that's necessary to get better. You know, so that's the main thing. Just realize that you have the problem, put in the work, and stick with it, right? Yeah, that's the most important thing. Stick with it, because it's going to help you eventually grow into the person that you want to be. I got a good friend of mine. I'm not going to say his name, but I'm hanging with him all the time. And he's got issues because of something that happened to him in a relationship. And he can't have a good relationship with the woman because he sabotages every new relationship because of what happened in a relationship that he had when he was married. I'm like, that's therapy. I said, if you don't get that out of you, you will never be able to grow into the person that you want to and have the relationship, romantic relationship that you want to have with a woman, until you get rid of the trauma and the pain from the past. So now he's starting to go. And now he's starting to seek out, and he's trying to grow. And I'm like, stick with it, stay with it, and realize that even though you got rid of this problem, there might be 5 or 6 other problems in your life that you've never addressed. That once you go in there and you got a good therapist that listens to you and asks the right questions every now and then, spurs you, it'll trigger something that'll open that door, that'll open up that trauma, and you'll be like, wow, I didn't even realize I was in there. Man, that's been in there for 27 years, and I didn't even realize that was hurting me. Let me unpack this and get all this stuff out and scoop all that stuff out there and clean it up and get rid of it. And now, because I got therapy, I can make sure that I can block that trauma or block that pain from coming back into my life and affecting me again. So it's the best thing. It's one of the best things that's ever happened in my life. I swear I tell people, if you are Black and you have not gone to therapy at least one time, you are missing out. I'm sorry. It's almost like this. I'll tell guys one more time. I'm like, some guys don't want to go get manicures and pedicures. I'm like, bruh, do you realize what you're missing out on if you don't go get a pedicure? Your feet are hurting. If you go get a pedicure and get the right kind, you know what I mean? Get that massage or whatever. Like, it's certain things you get in life, but that you've been told, oh, you can't do that because that's a woman thing or that's not manly or whatever. When you go get it and you realize how great it is, you don't want to stop.
Your life.
You don't want to stop. That's your life. Right. Live your life. Enjoy it.
Right. Yeah. Listen, I love how you have become such an advocate for therapy and mental health. I can tell even in the comment section, like, there are so many people who this information is just really resonating. And I love it. Again, thank you so much, Mike, for joining the conversation and really allowing us to just kind of pick your brain a bit about this book. Can you tell the people where they can find you?
Oh, they can find me on It's Mike Hill, ITS Mike Hill, on Instagram, on Twitter, and of course, I have a morning show on BNC Black News Channel called Start Your Day with Sharon and Mike. So we talk about mental health, and we have doctors such as yourself on there, coming on there giving us some advice. So it's been a good time. We've been started launching in March, and you know it's enjoyable. 4 hours a day, 6 until 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. But yeah, it's been great. So yeah, please follow me on Instagram at It's Mike Hill and on Twitter, and get the book Open Mic at Walmart.com, at BarnesandNobles.com, and on Amazon.com.
Yes, yes. And I love Sharon and Mike. Like y'all show it's really lit. Both of you guys are so
Thank you.
funny together.
I appreciate it. We have a good time.
Yeah.
We're nuts.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you joining the conversation, Mike. Hopefully we can connect again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And I hope the viewers out here, you guys are going to purchase the book. I saw a lot of 100 emojis, meaning they're going to purchase it. So we want Mike to get as many book purchases as he can from his book, because I really feel like it's a blessing to the community.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And once again, it's like I said, it's not even about the sales. It's about the knowledge. It's about if it can help somebody in there. Maybe you know somebody in your life that may need to see this as a man, and not just as a man, but Black women too, or just women period, Black people period, or just people period. If you can get something out of the book, then I've done my job, and I appreciate that. So it's funny. I think a lot of it is funny because you'll laugh at a lot of the things I've gone through in my life, but then you might even cry at a lot of the things that I've gone through in my life as well. But everything in this book is authentic and 100% real.
Love it. I love it. All right, Mike, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
We're going to connect soon, though. We're going to connect soon.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you for coming on while it's morning on your time. I hope you got your nap in, though, because I know naps are important.
I'm going to get that later on today. I'm going to get so sorry. My throat's still a little foggy or whatever, but yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Have a great night.
All right, you too. All right, bye-bye.